Everybody's got a prize.
Everybody's gonna play. Everybody's the $50 million man, and you're listening to the Wrestle Talk Podcast. Now tonight out, this is the Wrestle Talk Podcast.
5-1. WWE, NXT, Lucha Underground, ROH, Fantasy Wrestling, and we have some of the best damn interviews from professional and independent wrestling that you've ever heard.
And I'm Joe Lamb. Ladies and gentlemen, fasten your seatbelts, keep your arms in the vehicle at all times. Wrestle Talk begins in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Enjoy the ride.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, what is up? 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 Oh my goodness, goodness, goodness. It is 8 o'clock. It is Wednesday night. One thing only, it is time for the Wrestle Talk Podcast. And if you are listening to the sound of my voice, then you are listening to one of the greatest podcasts around. We got a great show for you tonight. I cannot wait. We got Tom Simon coming on. We got Adrian Surge coming on. We got all kinds of stuff going on. And I'm even taking it old school today. I am drinking something that just came back. I am drinking Zima, ladies and gentlemen. I am drinking Zima tonight. So let's go and get on our co-host.
Unmuted.
The man, the myth, the legend. What's up, Night Owl?
Que pasa, que pasa, que pasa, Nightmare Jones. What is up, Nightmare Jones? What is up, loved and appreciated members of the Wrestle Talk family? We welcome you back once again to the show that is in the air everywhere, thanks to the power of the internet and www.wrestletalkpodcast.com. Nightmare Jones, man, que pasa, man? What the hell you been getting into, brother?
Oh, you know, just the same old. I downloaded the new Friday the 13th game. I've been playing that for a while. It took like 6 hours to freaking download. So it was ridiculous. So I finally got to play that, and I got myself some Zima. I'm sure you remember drinking Zima.
Well, here's the funny thing, Joe. I actually just turned 33, for those keeping count. When Zima was out, I was actually under the drinking age. So I do not remember Zima because it was that long ago. I think it was out like, 15, 20 years ago. They finally brought it back. But if I remember correctly, and somebody might have to double check on this for me, isn't Zima more geared towards the female demographic, Joe? I mean, I'm just curious. I could be wrong. You're going to have to tell me about that.
Men and women drink Zima. It is not geared towards women. It's not like one of those other fruity drinks. It's just it's a citrus beverage, pretty much. It's citrus.
All right. Well, hey, listen, we'll go ahead and take your word for it, Joe. And I'll tell you what, man, I'm really excited about today's show. As you've already stated, man, Tom Simon is back, a man that has been a promoter and announcer, really has been around the wrestling scene for the better part of 30 years. Now he's working down in the South with USA. He'll tell us a little bit more about that when he comes on here shortly. And then, of course, Adrian Surge, a guy who's been pretty active here in the scene in the Midwest, man. I can't really rattle off all the promotions he's been at, but I can tell you for sure he's done KCXW. He's done quite a bit of work at Dynamo Pro Wrestling. And then also, I know he's been working for Strictly Insane. So when he comes on, I'm going to tell you one thing, man. It's going to be an interesting conversation because the last time I saw him was here in Kansas City for KCXW. And I think he's got some splaining to do, Nightmare, because Adrian Surge, despite, giving off an impression of being somewhat of a good guy, didn't necessarily show to be a good guy towards the end of his match. But I'm not going to go ahead and spoil it. We'll wait for Adrian to come on and tell us a little bit more about that. But I got to ask you, Joe, I know it's been 2 weeks since I've been on the show. You and Luke Roberts absolutely knocked one out of the park last week, man. Why don't you go ahead and quickly recap last week's show, man, and tell us how you felt going into it without your boy.
Oh man, it's always the show's not the same without you, Rene. But if I had anybody that I would rather do the show with when you were not able to, it would be Luke Roberts. Luke Roberts is the man, the myth, the legend. He has helped Wrestle Talk more than anybody could ever imagine. And last week, we knocked it out of the park. I mean, we had two great guests, and I got my butt swept in the challenge. I mean, I didn't even get a chance to answer the question. It was that bad. Like, I mean, as soon as Luke Roberts would answer the question, as soon as he finished it, sometimes before, this guy was answering the question right then and there, and I was like, now I know how Rene feels.
Yeah, exactly. and I gotta say, whenever we do the Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge, it always feels like the questions are geared towards the guest, and I get that. You want to put the guest over. But I mean, sometimes you make it about country music. I mean, I love and appreciate country music, but I'm far from being an expert. So now you know how I feel. Now you have felt my pain, Nightmare Jones, and I'm glad that you've gone through it now. Because listen, it sounds like it's all fun and games until you're actually inside the hot box and you got to deal with that pressure, right? I mean, it can be pretty tough and intimidating.
Absolutely.
Hey, no doubt. Well, again, man, thank you guys. You guys did a kick-ass job last week, and so now I can feel confident if I ever do need to step away that you guys absolutely have it on lockdown. Well, with that being said, man, we've got a lot to cover today, but we can't even get started without doing what we always do about this time and pay homage to the greatest country on God's green earth, and that's America, damn it. Oh, say can you
see and the rocket red flag? Uh-oh. I'll make up for it now. For the land of the free.
Brings a tear to my eye every time.
Every single time. Well, guys, we are kicking off the show today, and we can't take another step till we take a moment and encourage you guys to call in, man. The call-in number is 657-383-1521. Somebody either on Periscope or on Facebook, thank you guys for being here. Go ahead and type that out. It's 657-383-1521. And the reason I'm emphasizing that is because the topic that we're kicking the show off with today is going to be a huge deal, okay? As we lead into a couple of huge interviews, we're going to talk about a little bit of Money in the Bank, but we're going to talk about some comments that were recently made by Jake the Snake Roberts, and we want the feedback of the Wrestle Talk family on how exactly you feel about what Jake Roberts says and whether or not there's any truth to what he said. So we're going to play that clip here in just a second. Intern Timmy, get that ready for us, okay? But before we do, I want to encourage you guys to check out the FWWC tonight. It is our fantasy wrestling-based podcast Monday nights at 10:30 p.m. Central Time, available to you on the WrestleTalkPodcast.com, just like us right here on the Wrestle Talk Podcast. We sponsor that show. We've created that show. We've given those guys a platform, and guess what? They do an absolutely incredible job. So make sure you check them out. And then also, if you're there, go on over to our sponsor tab, Got a bunch of wonderful sponsors. I'm not going to try to rattle them off right now. Just a couple that come to mind. The Conspiracy Farm, our boy Jay Hollywood, and UFC Hall of Famer Pat Milicic. Our friends over at KCK Dental Pros. And, of course, as you guys can see, I am rocking and representing The Masked Saint. The Masked Saint book available right now on Amazon.com, written by our friend Chris, who also was the guy behind the movie The Masked Saint that you can watch on Netflix as soon as this show is over. And what's up, Myra? Checking in from Chi-Town. Much love to you. Mwah, mwah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for checking us out. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and play that clip. As we do that, our friends on social media, tap the screen, share this broadcast, because we want everybody to jump in on this conversation. Intern Timmy, play that clip. I'll give us a little bit of a foundation after the clip plays, and then we'll get right into the conversation. Is it ready to go? Joe, can you check with Timmy? Is it ready? Okay.
What I think has gone wrong in the WWE. Are you ready for this? I think the only problem can be blamed on the shape you got here. Your physical shape. Right now you're going, oh my God, this shit right on me, I'm ready to quit. You're true, right? Then it says it's going to be done with that. That's what I figured out. All you silly bitches are in such shape that you never run out of gas. You get really tired. Everybody puts it on and you take it slow, you can go all over that damn wall. That is creating a problem. I guarantee you, when you go up out there, you stop. You know, when you're on a gas station, what do? You have to stop. You can't think you on yourself anymore. You can't be up to say somebody anymore. You can't let it do it anymore. Because you simply can't look at your side to it. You have to be
All right, as you guys probably attempted to hear, that was WWE Hall of Famer Jake Roberts. We did our best to dig up the best possible audio that we could. You guys can find Jake Roberts on Facebook at Jake the Snake Roberts and listen to the whole broadcast that he put out on Facebook Live yesterday. The reason the audio is kind of choppy is because he did do it on Facebook Live. But I'm going to go ahead and recap it for you guys, and then we're going to get into discussion as we are joined by our friend Luke Roberts for the High Spots segment. Intern Timmy, get that music ready. Let's get right into it, baby.
We have now taken over your radio. Hit 'em high, hit 'em high, hit 'em high. Hit 'em low, hit 'em low. Going straight to the hole. You ain't got no game. I'm breaking it out the frame, coming through like a train. Something that takes over the whole world is my soul.
Luke Roberts, what's up, buddy? Welcome to the show. Luke Roberts, you with us?
All right, man. Break it down for us.
Is Luke Roberts there with us? Is he on the line?
Hey, I'm here, gentlemen. I don't know what's up with technology. All I know is I heard the intro, and that was about all that was there. I mean, again, things are really hopping here at the Dynamo Pro offices tonight. And like I said, I know we were talking about the buzz that's been all around the professional wrestling world as of late is that interview with Jake the Snake. I'm not going to lie to the listenership of this podcast. I literally just listened to this about the last 15 minutes, so I'm still kind of trying to digest everything that was brought out. Now, I know, Rene, you got some pretty noticeable thoughts about this, so I want to go ahead and hear your opinion first.
No doubt, and of course, thank you for joining us as you always do on the High Spots segment. And next week we'll have our resident blogger Brandis back on the show for High Spots. But for those of you guys, hey, shout out JJ. Thanks for showing us some love tonight, man. Please tap the screen and share if you have the opportunity to do so. Okay, so here, let me recap what Jake Roberts said, and I want to get your thoughts. Jake Roberts believes that he has identified the single most significant issue with WWE today. Now, personally speaking, I don't think that there's that much wrong with WWE, but there are a lot of people who don't like what they are bringing to the table today, and a lot of it has to do with the presentation of the wrestling itself. And of course, the promos and the fact that a lot of promos are scripted. So the conclusion that Jake Roberts has come to in terms of the in-ring part of wrestling that he thinks is wrong with the WWE is he believes that the wrestlers are too in shape. That's right, you heard it right, guys. Jake the Snake Roberts, WWE Hall of Famer, believes that the wrestlers are in far too good of shape. That's right. Now, when I originally heard him say that, I thought it was obnoxious and I thought it was silly. But then he went on to explain. Make sure you guys go ahead and check out the whole video. It has been shared onto the Wrestle Talk Podcast fan page on Facebook. He goes on to explain that because these guys are in such great shape, they are never forced to slow down. Every match is at 100 miles an hour, and that has even carried in over to the indies. It almost kind of makes me want to reference back to the whole dive situation with Randy Orton. So, the question is there any merit to what Jake Roberts is saying? Because in a nutshell, what he's saying is that the guys move so quickly and they don't run out of gas, their tank is always full, that they are never obligated to stop, catch their breath, and sell anything. The selling is what he thinks has been lost because these guys are in such tremendous and spectacular shape that they do a 10, 12, or 15-minute match and they're not even tired. So there is actually no need for them to take a break, catch their breath. Nothing really hurts, okay? So that way they don't actually ever have to sell, and that part of wrestling, in his mind, is something of the past that should not be gone. Because if you're not able to sell anything, then how are you really able to tell the story? That's Jake the Snake Roberts' perspective. I want to hear what you guys think by dialing 657-383-1521. As you guys fill up those phone lines, Nightmare Jones, I got to start with you, brother. You heard the comments. You heard what Jake said, man. What are your thoughts, brother?
I think that to some merit he has a point, but then again, you look at somebody like Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is a fantastic wrestler, but what is the one thing that everybody talks about? How fat he is, how out of shape he is. I mean, and I kind of blame the WWE as well, because that is what Vince McMahon is looking for. He's not looking for overweight wrestlers. He wants these jacked wrestlers with these muscles so that
like
they
me.
can do the style of wrestling that the WWE does. I don't think that it's the wrestler's fault. I think that it's the style that WWE wants them. They want a style of a bam, 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 thank you, ma'am, and I kind of agree. It does kind of hurt, because I miss the olden days when, you had wrestlers that weren't so in shape, and you could tell, when they were tired and whatnot. So I could kind of agree with them, but then again, I kind of, put the blame on the WWE as well.
Okay, that's an interesting perspective. I'm curious to hear, Luke, you being around the business for as many years as you have, I know you remember late 70s, early 80s, and the style of wrestling that we were seeing then versus what we're seeing now. Is there any merit to what Jake the Snake Roberts is saying?
Well, you know, Rene, this is why this particular type of a subject is blowing up on social media. You've got two completely different schools of thought here. And if you allow me a moment here's my thinking. If you look at the 70s and the 80s, and even earlier than that, you had wrestlers that were in phenomenal shape back then. You had wrestlers like Rusev and Nature Boy Buddy Rogers, who looked like literally they had come off, by today's standards, the cover of a magazine. They were in phenomenal shape. But then you turn around and you look at some people, and I've actually gotten into conversations with many people regarding wrestlers like the legendary Hall of Famer Harley Race. Harley Race did not necessarily look like the bodybuilders that a lot of people were familiar with. But I'll tell you right now, from watching and studying wrestlers like Harley Race and wrestlers of the sort, it mirrors what Joe said. The idea that professional wrestlers chiseled out a granite look, but they can be just as to quote many, tougher than a steak. And when you see here now, I have to say that professional wrestling at times mirrors everything that's going on in today's society, because, like I say, with technology, like your internet and your cell phone and all these kind of things that are going 100 million miles an hour. But I'm going to say right now, there are a lot of wrestlers that enter that ring each and every night, that go out there and give everything that they can in that ring. It's, to me, I've always viewed professional wrestling, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And if you go back and you look how these wrestlers are in today's shape, you go out there, a prime example, Money in the Bank, the men's Money in the Bank match. How long did that match go? 20, 25, 28 minutes one night? I mean, it was a good, long matchup. And none of these gentlemen, when they left the ring, they weren't running wind sprints up and down the rampway. They had been through a war. To me, I'm going to be perfectly honest, at times I can see where he's coming from, but at other times I think he's kind of taking a wrong turn.
Okay, so it sounds like you and Joe are kind of in the same school of thought, that there is some validity. I mean, and it's hard to discount a guy like Jake the Snake Roberts. I mean, by many people's testimony, Stone Cold Steve Austin included, Jake the Snake Roberts, quite possibly the best promo in wrestling history, and it's hard to dispute that fact. Here's where we differ. I actually believe that Jake the Snake Roberts is 100% off base. I don't agree with him at all. And here's why. The fact that these guys are in shape does not prevent them from wrestling the way that guys used to wrestle. It's because they believe that if the action is slow, that the fans aren't going to buy into it. Okay? Tom, who's coming up here shortly, is actually chiming in on the Facebook Live, and he seems to be thinking kind of what I'm thinking. The short attention span of the fans has changed everything, and I think the wrestlers are very conscious of that. And they know that if they over-focus on the arm or they over-focus on the leg, and, you know, it's kind of like more of a grapple match than it is this high spot fest where people running off the ropes, coming off the top, you know, diving to the outside. I mean, almost one time per match, somebody's diving through the ropes doing the suicide dive. Okay? So as far as I'm concerned, I love the high-speed type of wrestling that we're getting these days, but I don't think that it's necessary to get the message across. And I think, as a matter of fact, it actually does damage their ability to get the story across, because you're so focused in on the moves, you tend to forget why the guys are even fighting. But I do not believe it's because the guys are in shape. I believe it's because they are afraid that they're going to lose the audience. Okay? I use 205 Live as an example. There is no wrestling, maybe outside of Lucha Underground, that runs and moves and jumps and tumbles and flips quicker than the guys on 205 Live. But when they come on Monday Night Raw, the crowd is dead. Why? Because they never take enough time to tell the story in the ring. Everything is done backstage or standing at the top of the ramp with a microphone. None of it, almost none of it, happens in the ring, and I think that it is hurting the product, and shame on the fans for not being willing to allow the guys to do that with the short attention span theater that the fans suffer from these days. Okay? So I will give you gentlemen the opportunity to retort to my comment if you guys have one. Joe, you got anything?
Well, I mean, I see exactly what you're talking about, and you know, you kind of make sense. So I will give you that. You do kind of make sense.
Well, that'd be the first time today I made sense. I appreciate that, Joe.
Renee, I'm gonna jump in right now because you know you make a good point. I mean, I agree with you to the event that a lot of times you see wrestlers going out there and flying all over the place. And I'm not going to lie. When I was younger, when I was more physically fit, and I'm not going to lie to anybody, I'm not in the best shape in the world. Again, over the course of 30 years has done that physically to my body. But the fact remains this, though. When you look at it, there are matches that by today's standard that a lot of fans are going to go out there. And you're used to all this stuff, but there are wrestlers even in the WWE that can go out there and get critical acclaim. I can think of a couple of them right off the top of my head. I can think of AJ Styles versus John Cena. Everybody seems to loathe or love, one way or the other, John Cena. But every time they've gotten in the ring, you don't have to have all this craziness going on. Another one that I think was there was the match between Dolph Ziggler and The Miz, when Dolph Ziggler finally managed to win the Intercontinental Championship.
I agree wholeheartedly.
A lot of people, I think, are kind of looking to the match coming up in a couple of weeks, Brock Lesnar and Samoa Joe, as another one. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think those guys are going to be flying all over the ring. I think the biggest thing to kind of summarize it for everybody is professional wrestling has different styles. You can look at Lucha Libre, you can look at New Japan, you can look at Japanese style, you can look at European style, you can look anywhere you want to go. But the fact is, right now, everybody is going to be entitled to their own opinion. And just to me, I think that balance is the biggest thing, is that there are people that are going to like every little bit, everybody's going to have an opinion, and that's just kind of the way it is. I mean, to me, wrestling is that getting inside that 20 by 20 square circle and to be able to compete against some of the best professional wrestlers in the world. Doesn't matter if they're aerial wrestlers, if they're mat wrestlers or submission wrestlers, getting out there and showing why you are the best at what you do.
Hey, no doubt about it. And we're getting a shout out to the Techno Kid here from our friends on Facebook. Those who know exactly who I'm talking about. And then also got a comment here from our buddy Marjo over in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. He says, for the record, KO being fat doesn't mean he's out of shape. He outworks most of the guys he's with. Dude is just a stress eater. You just forgot to say like me, and probably you as well. So yeah, I don't think Joe was insinuating that Kevin Owens is out of shape. He looks to be out of shape, but there's no doubt in my mind that Kevin Owens could go for an extended period of time. But at the same time, Kevin Owens does not wrestle at 100 miles an hour. And he's been forced to slow down in comparison to how he wrestled in the Indies. He's been forced to slow down. And it's funny, Luke, that you say that as we get ready for our very first guest to come on here in just a few seconds. You said something about John Cena. I was going to say something about John Cena, but I was going to say John Cena and Kevin Owens from a while back. Those two guys were able to have... and I could even reference the Bray Wyatt match from about a year ago. It was like a casket match or something. What's the match called when you stay down for 10? Somebody help me.
Last Man Standing.
Yeah, Last Man Standing match where he put Bray inside that like audio equipment box and then slid something on top of it. That pacing in the match can work. We have seen evidence of it recently, but they're afraid. I think wrestling companies are afraid of that because of the short attention span of the fans, and they're afraid of losing those fans due to that type of pacing. So I'm glad we were able to get into this topic, guys, because when a guy like Jake the Snake Roberts talks, whether we agree or disagree, absolutely have to listen, because that man has the resounding respect of everyone in the wrestling community. And I kind of get where he was coming from, but I don't think it necessarily has to do with the fact that the guys can't slow down. I think they're just afraid to slow down. And that's all I got to say about all that. Fair? Okay.
I could agree with you right there, Rene.
Cool. All right. Well, let's do this, guys. We have reached the first half hour of the show. We've put it behind us. So without further ado, I think it's time to bring on our very first guest, and maybe he'd be interested in commenting on this topic. Luke Roberts, you always do such a wonderful job of introducing the guest. Why don't you go ahead and take the stage here and introduce our first guest tonight?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, for those that may or may not be aware of this gentleman up here at the Wrestle Talk podcast, gentleman who's been around professional wrestling for a very short amount of time, but in that short amount of time, he has managed to make a huge statement, winning championships throughout the Midwestern United States. As a matter of fact, you can catch him in just a couple of weeks at Riot on the River 2, as he will be in a semifinal match to crown the first Riot on the River champion. I hope intern Timmy, I hope you got this ready. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wrestle Talk podcast. Lights out, Adrian Surge.
What is going on, fellas?
Adrian Surge.
What's going on, my friend?
I'm doing well. How about y'all?
Good.
A-okay, my friend.
Thanks for coming on.
Oh, my pleasure. Happy to be here.
Very cool, and thanks for making the time for us, Adrian. We're happy to have you. You're talking to yours truly, Rene the Night Owl, my co-host Nightmare Jones, and of course a man you're very familiar with, our buddy Luke Roberts. And again, we appreciate you making the time for us tonight, man. Let's get right into it.
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Well, we're gonna start off addressing something between you and me, Adrian. Okay, and you know how these interviews go.
Okay.
You know how these interviews go. Part of it will be, business, and part of it will be fun. Let's take care of some business first. A couple of weeks ago, you came to Kansas City, and you were in action for KCXW and President Jordan Smiley. And in being in action, I'd say that at least initially, a good part of the crowd was with you and behind you, but then you decided to do what I would call chicken shit, okay? And what you did is you took the easy way out of a match by pretending to be injured, distracting security, distracting your opponent, and then subsequently getting up, hitting your finisher, and winning the match. I'm curious, do you have anything to say for yourself?
I mean, what can I really say? I mean, I graced Kansas City with my presence, and that presence was rejected by the fans. They were all over my opponent. For some reason, everywhere we go, everybody seems to love LVK, and they just kind of glance past me. All I did in that show was make a statement, and now every single person in that arena won't forget who I am ever again.
Now, do you believe that you owe the fans an explanation for the way that you handled yourself at the end of that match? Because we were legitimately concerned for you, Adrian. We thought you were legitimately hurt, okay? And then you pulled that nonsense. I mean, could you not have won the match without pulling that nonsense?
Oh, easily. I mean, there's no doubt I could have won that match. I just thought I'd have a little bit of fun in the process and show that every single one of the fans out there, I had them in the palm of my hand the whole time, and they had no idea of that.
Well, you definitely got me, and I'm a guy that watches wrestling on a daily basis, and there's no doubt about it, man. You pulled the wool over my eyes, and hey, you did what you had to do to get the win. I guess we can't take that away from you. But honestly, Adrian, I was highly disappointed in the way you went about doing it, and hopefully you can get a clean win, because I think you're more than capable of doing so. But I thank you for answering that question. Let's move on. Speaking of coming to Kansas City, I believe that was your first visit to KCXW. You had the ability to share the ring with quite a few talented guys in that show. So give us a brief recap, man. How was your first experience in Kansas City, and what did you think about the fans and KCXW in general?
I didn't know too terribly much about them when I came in for the first time. It was actually when you saw me. That was my second go around, where I'd met most of them out there. I like a lot of the guys there. They're all very professional. They love the business. Some of them, a lot of them are fairly new getting into it, and I know this guy's calling people new. But a lot of the guys there I'd known before. I like the marksman a lot. I love Hollis Giroux. He's one of the most entertaining guys in that locker room, in my opinion. I'm killing to have a match with him at some point, so that's on record now. Even though we're gonna be on the same team for a bit, so I don't know how that's gonna work out. But it's very, very fun place. The venue is very nice as well. It's a really cool environment. The lighting's good. It's a fun place to be. I like Kansas City. I like going there.
Hey, no doubt about it. And if those guys didn't treat you to some good barbecue, man, you look me up next time you're in town, and we'll go ahead and get that set up. As I said, I'm being...
We're going to have to, man.
No doubt about it, man. I'm a man of my word. I promise you that. But listen, like I said, I'm here with my co-host Nightmare Jones and Luke Roberts, so I'll go ahead and throw it to Joe, and we'll kind of keep this cycle going. Joe, why don't you jump on in here? I know you've had the pleasure of watching Mr. Surge in action at least once when you visited Dynamo Pro Wrestling a little bit over a year ago. And then I know you've been watching quite a bit of his stuff on YouTube, man, so why don't you jump on in with any questions or comments you might have?
Absolutely. My first question is, what made Adrian Surge want to be a professional wrestler?
Man, that is a long-winded answer. The short version of it is I fell in love with it. Especially, I was kind of a casual fan, throughout my life, throughout high school. Then, due to an injury, my baseball career just came to an abrupt end, and that's when I really started. Part of it probably being a little bit depressed over that, but I just immersed myself in it. And I watched everything, and I tried to, figure things out, and studied psychology, studied tapes. And one day, it all just kind of came together. I was at like a Sports Authority or Dick's Sporting Goods, something like that, and I was just walking through the Nike section. I saw this shirt, and it was a really cool shirt. It was a black shirt, and it had just in big, bright gold letters, "Lights Out," and then kind of in the background was kind of like the faded city that was kind of had all the lights out. And I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. If I was a wrestler, this would be an awesome tagline. And it kind of grew from there. And I'd be like, okay, well, what would I call myself? Lights Out, kind of like electricity. Surge is kind of a cool, powerful word, name. I'll roll from that. It just kind of spiraled from there into actually getting into the business and training up and being where I'm at today.
Okay. My second question for our third to Luke Roberts is, you were trained by the Rene of Destruction, Makaze. What was it like being trained by him?
He is very good at paying attention to detail. He's been around the business for a long time, and I felt like that I was kind of spinning my wheels a lot, trying to figure out how to become a wrestler, how to stand out. And then once I met him, not only did he kind of take me under his wing and help me out and showed me the ropes, but he also opened a lot of doors for me to where I'm at now, to where I'm all over the Midwest doing a bunch of really cool stuff. But the guy's attention to detail is the one thing that stood out to me above all else.
Okay. Luke Roberts, the floor is yours.
Well, like I said, I've had the opportunity as of late to really get to see firsthand the real, I want to say surge, no pun intended here, of Adrian Surge and Dynamo Pro Wrestling. And I want to touch base, and Joe hit the nail right on the head. On July 7th, you're scheduled to wrestle Makazi in a match at Riot on the River 2. As a matter of fact, I was just sitting here looking a few moments ago, and I was just made aware, and this was kind of a Wrestle Talk exclusive here, that Makazi is, at this point in time, is not going to be able to compete on July 7th. They're getting ahead and looking for a replacement opponent. I have to ask this question to you, Serge. Based on what's going on in the Riot and the River tournament, is there anybody right now that you feel that you deserve an opportunity to face in Dynamo Pro Wrestling?
Man, that's a loaded question. There's so many talented guys that come through Dynamo. Makazi going down, it would have been nice to actually not only stand up to the guy that taught me so much, but also take him out. Kind of like what you're talking about with the Surge thing. I'm surging forward right now. That's where I'm at. So it really, honestly, doesn't matter to me. There's so many guys I would love. Me and Brandon Aarons have had a couple really cool battles. Most recently at the Cinco de Mayhem show in downtown St. Louis, where we had just crowds and crowds of people just piling in outside at the Cinco de Mayo festival and just tearing each other apart, and had so much fun with that. I would kill for a chance to face John Webb in the finals. I know he's in the other semifinal match. But to be honest, to answer your question, for my semifinal match on July 7th, bring on anybody. I'm ready for anybody because I'll surge right past them. I'm going to the finals, and I'm taking home that Ride on the River championship.
Well, Serge, like I said, I know Dynamo Pro Management has been looking. They've been in meetings. I'm trying to get in today, and the executive committee of Dynamo Pro was in a closed-doors meeting trying to come up with who is going to wrestle you on July 7th. I've got to ask, being the media guy that I am, you mentioned both of the other two people in the semifinal, Brandon Aarons and John Webb. I'm going to call you out here right now. If you had to face one of those men, you had the opportunity, assuming, of course, you do move on to the finals. If you have to face one or the other, who do you feel would be the one you would want to face on August 4th at the finals of Riot on the River?
Oh, man. I don't think I could ever pick a wrong one. However, I will. About a month ago, earned an opportunity by defeating Elvis Aliaga at Brandon Aaron's Dynamo Pro Championship. So that match is bound to happen. It's going to happen at some point. So I would have to go with John Webb on this one. I think he's got a lot of qualities that will test Brandon Aarons quite a bit. And he could actually pull out the win come July 7th. But to be honest, I would be thrilled to face either one of those guys. I just feel like John Webb, for some reason, my gut's telling me he's got the edge on this one.
Well, like I said, that each individual has their own opinion. I know a lot of people who listen to the Wrestle Talk podcast have been talking about these matches coming up on July 7th. And I know, I'm going to throw things back to Rene, but I know there's a lot of other promotions. Talk about KCXW, talk about Dynamo Pro Wrestling. Rene, I'm going to throw things back to you because I know there's still a couple more things that are on your mind tonight.
No doubt. And I don't know if, Adrian, you got a chance to catch the back end of the conversation that we were having. We were actually discussing some comments that were made by Jake the Snake Roberts just yesterday on Facebook Live, where he commented, and I'll try to keep this brief, that he felt that the fact that the wrestlers in the WWE are so in shape that's why the in-ring product is struggling, because they are so in shape that they're not forced like him and the Dusties and the Harleys were back in the day to actually have to slow down a little bit to catch their breath and actually sell something from time to time. So, now, from my perspective, I'm a fan. Joey's a referee. I know the Techno Kid over there hasn't been in the ring for a while, but he's more of a re-announcer and a media guy. But you're a guy that's in the ring week in, week out. So do you think there's any validity to what Jake said about the style that these guys are wrestling and whether or not it has to do with the fact that they're so in shape that it's actually kind of hurting the in-ring product?
I tend to more disagree. In fact, in my opinion, and just having been in the ring and having to sell, or having guys that I'm facing selling, you need to be in shape to sell. You can tell the big, the wrestlers that get over nowadays and have a following, those guys are actively selling. And what I kind of think that means is if you're in shape, you still got to squirm. You still got to be crawling. You got to be breathing. You got to be, making noises and trying to get out of holds and try to get out of bad situations. Where if you're gassed, you're just going to lay there and try to catch your breath, and it's going to look like crap. So I think saying that they're in shape is not quite covering maybe what the underlying issue is. I do agree with the statements made about the attention span of fans nowadays, but honestly, I think if you're creative enough and you engage the crowd well enough, there's no reason you can't keep people engaged in a match. My style, I like to be different. I don't want to be the guy that everybody else is, and a lot of guys that I'm in the ring with right now, they kind of tend to go 100 miles an hour. So in order to differentiate myself, I tend to slow down a little bit more and engage the crowd a little bit more. You saw what I did in Kansas City. I like to stand out. I like to do things different because that will help me make a name for myself. So I don't think necessarily being too in shape, that's very vague, and it doesn't really encapsulate what the actual issue is. And I think part of it is the storytelling itself, whoever's writing the stories. I think the wrestlers are working their tails off trying to tell these stories. But like you said, it may not be their decision. You got writers, you have agents telling them, hey, do it like this. And they got to do it like that. The guys that I love watching is AJ Styles and Sami Zayn, two of the best sellers if we're talking WWE.
Absolutely.
WWE. You watch Sami Zayn, both guys, they could probably go, 4 hours in a match if they really wanted to. They've got the gas, they've got the strength to do it. But you see them actively selling, and they're doing it very smart. A couple of weeks ago, AJ Styles with Kevin Owens injured his leg, goes up to the top for his big forearm, crashes to the mat as soon as he hits that rope because the leg gives out, leg's hurting. Those kind of things are what people will catch on to, and you don't need to be so in shape to pull that off. You just need to be paying attention to detail and focus on telling stories. That's my opinion. I love the theatrics. I love the acrobatics. I love the athleticism. But for me, what sells me, what pulls me into a match is the story that the wrestlers are telling. I don't care how in shape you are. If you tell a good story, I'm in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think his point of contention is that's exactly what they're not doing with the fact that everything is going so fast. It's hard to sell an arm. It's hard to sell a leg if, you sell for a second as if, somebody just shot your leg off, and then 2 minutes later you're doing a swanton bomb or a suicide dive or whatever. But point noted, because I tend to agree a little bit more with you. I think it does have more to do with the fans and maybe a little bit of the fear that the guys have that they may lose the fans if they slow it down a little bit too much. If you run a match slower and tell the story properly, I think the fans are just as likely to buy in as they are to a spot fest. But with that being said, one other quick thing that I wanted to cover before I throw it back to Joe was Strictly Insane. You have a huge thing coming up here right around the corner with Strictly Insane. I know that they're making some big waves, man. So tell us, how did you get involved with Strictly Insane, and what exactly you're going to be doing for them here coming up?
Strictly Insane was one of the first promotions that actually not only just gave me a shot or just gave me, a venue to practice my craft, but it was the first one to really see something and say, hey, let's see what this kid's got. Some of the veteran guys there at the time kind of saw me and kind of took me under their wing and kind of got me strapped in and going. I've had a pleasure of working with a lot of really talented guys. One of the first guys there, he's from the Indiana area, but Shank Barzini was kind of the first guy that really helped me develop my character, develop matches, those kind of things. The fans of JCEW will know Too Tough Tony. Me and him have had, I don't know how many battles, And that war between me and him has not even shown that it's going to come to an end anytime soon, because I'm defending the SMPW Heavyweight Championship against him this Saturday. So this little war me and him have is far from done. But I've been lucky to hold their tag titles there. I'm currently in the my first reign as the SMPW Heavyweight Champion, and it is going on 15 months strong. So over a year of my dominance. Just safe to say that there's not many lights on in that building, and we're pretty much turned most of them out at this point.
Hey, no doubt about it. And we definitely want to encourage everybody to take a little bit of time and just look them up on Facebook. I know I've been doing my research, and the card that they have coming up here is pretty stacked, and the main event is you, Adrian. So I'm curious, man, how does that differ your preparation? Do you look and treat it a little bit different, as if this is the big one, quote unquote, versus if you were somewhere in the middle of the card? I mean, does your preparation and the way you get ready for these matches change because you are going to be the main event?
I think there's definitely added pressure to it, but I welcome it. I love it. Especially those shows tend to be a little on the longer side. So you're seeing, 3 to 4 hours at least of matches before yours, and having to sit back and watch what people are doing and trying to do something different and crafting a story that's going to stand out, so that the fans that sit there in a hot gym for 3, 4, or 5 hours even sometimes are going to be just as into. I have no doubt that this one's going to be fantastic. It's going to be tremendous. Every time me and Too Tough get in the ring together, we just have always had this chemistry, and he's been so good working with me. Now I'm to the point where I finally get to give it back by giving him an opponent. Like the first time he faced me, he was just helping me along. Now we're two stallions and we're going to collide, and there's going to be a war. It goes back to the kind of thing you guys have been discussing the whole show. I can put Too Tough Tony in a headlock and yell at some little girl in the front row, and I will get just as much heat as the little stunt that pulled at KTXW. It's about looking for what the fans are wanting and playing off of what they are feeding into, and that just forces you to pay attention to them rather than, let's do spot.
No doubt about it. No, that's a great answer. Joe, why don't you jump back in here, and then we'll go to Luke, and then we'll close this baby out.
All right. So, you qualified for the second round of the Dynamo Pro Wrestling Riot on the River tournament. How does it feel to qualify for the second round?
Well, I'm beyond stoked. I had a fantastic match with Justin Dier in the first round. I thought me and him put on quite a show, and a different kind of dynamic than the rest of the matches on that show. I got to meet a lot of the fans afterwards too. It was fantastic. So I feel like I'm riding some momentum going into round 2 on July 7th. I think for everyone that decides to come out there, they're definitely not going to be disappointed by the
Hey, I want to thank all you guys for tuning in on the live broadcast. Hey, yo, what up, Stockhawk? Nice to see you, bro. See you Saturday at NWL. What's up, Periscope? Thank you guys for checking us out. And Michael Lovin, we will be able to answer your question here in a little bit, but I'll tell you what, I saw David Starr at Glory Pro. The dude is a freaking ace, though I've never seen Jern, so I can't comment. But David,
professional wrestling history alive
dude is a beast.
That you would want to wrestle. Who would that be?
Oh man, you do drop bombshells. Man, there's such a long list of, and I'm sure this is what every single person says. The guy that made me, Shawn Michaels would be obviously the probably the first answer if we're talking all time. He was a master of storytelling. And the interesting thing is he may also be one of the better athletes ever, but the fact that he would put storytelling over athleticism is just, it goes along with my mindset and what I love. And if we were talking to a wrestler that's around right now today that's got some buzz, I love everybody in the WWE, but just for this sake, I'll say Cody Rhodes, just outside of WWE at this point. Inside of WWE, I'd say Styles for sure.
Okay. Good answer. Luke Roberts. The floor is yours, my friend.
Well, like I said, I know for a fact that I've got one more. And again, I don't know what it is. Joe and I have that kind of that same wavelength going. They kind of had one of those questions that I kind of always have on my mind. But my question, I've only got one, is if you could take Adrian Surge, lights out Adrian Surge, a man who's been on a meteoric role as of late, if you could take maybe a sentence to kind of put together what do you experience when you see Adrian Surge in a professional wrestling ring? What would you tell someone in a quick sentence or two? What can they expect when they see lights out Adrian Surge step between the ropes and enter the squared circle?
I'm lights out for a reason. I'm there for the people, so that when I am standing in the middle of that ring, you know that I am there for you, and I'm going to do every single thing I can do to entertain you, and that includes bringing enough intensity to turn the lights out in that building, because I'm going to bring it every single time.
All right, Rene, I'm going to throw it back to you. Like I said, again, this is definitely one of those people that you definitely need to keep an eye on as we go through 2017. Lights out Adrian Surge making a huge statement throughout the Midwest.
Well, no doubt about it. Well, let's change gears here a little bit before we get into shoot and shout. I do have one question, Adrian, outside of wrestling, because I'm sure, if it were up to you and me and the rest of the guys, we could sit here and talk wrestling for hours, man. But what does Adrian like to do outside of wrestling? Are you a video game guy? Are you an outdoors guy, man? And like, what's on your Netflix playlist right now? What are you getting into these days when you're unwinding from wrestling?
Man, let me tell you, I'm still as much into sports as I can be. I mean, if you look for me outside of wrestling, I'm either I'm at the gym, I'm playing either basketball or old man softball, because that's all I can really that's all I can really do.
Beer
nowadays.
league, baby.
But, oh, absolutely. I still try to bring it, but it is what it is. Hanging with my wife and my dogs. We kind of go out walking and then we'll kind of hang out and watch some Netflix. I think right now we're, what are we doing right now? I think we're on Criminal Minds at this point, but just blowing through different shows. It's a fun life, man. I love what I do, and I love everything that all the traveling and all the fun stuff and the fun people I get to meet.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for sharing something on a personal note, man. We always appreciate it. But as much as I enjoyed that, man, now it's time to unleash some of that pent-up surge in what we like to call our shoot and shout segment. Intern Timmy, you already know what I'm looking for, baby. Hit that music.
It's just one of those days. You don't want to wake up. Everybody's stuck. You don't really know why, but you want to just survive.
All right, everybody.
That's right. It is time for the shoot
I'm doing it now, man. I'm doing it now.
Adrian's ready to go. Go ahead.
Your chance.
Go ahead, Joe.
Yep, this is your chance, Adrian, to say whatever is on your mind, whatever pisses you off, whether it's wrestling related, not wrestling related. This is your opportunity to get it off of your chest. The floor is yours.
All right. If you don't know the name Adrian Surge, it's on you. Sorry. But after 2017, the Midwest is going to know who I am. I mean, hell, they already do. I've been dominating aspects of the independent scenes in the Midwest. It's not enough for me, so I'm going to keep bringing it. Lights out Adrian Surge isn't going to stop. I'm going to keep surging forward. I'm going to keep dominating. And you haven't seen the last of me in any promotion, because I'm everywhere. And so follow me on this journey. Let's have some fun together. Follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter at Adrian Surge. We're gonna have some fun together. Time to make professional wrestling really, 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 really fun, and that's what I'm here to do. That's me. Lights out.
Lights out, Adrian Surge, ladies and gentlemen, on the Shoot and Shout segment right here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. Hey, Adrian, we appreciate your time, man. Looking forward to seeing you in action over at Ride on the River, Strictly Insane, KCX, and everywhere else that you ply your trade, sir. It's been an honor and a pleasure. Can't wait to talk to you again. You have a good night, man.
Hey, you too. Thank you, everybody.
All right, brother.
Thanks, sir.
This guy's Adrian Surge on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Make sure you find him. The guy's always got something to say. And when he steps in the ring, there's no doubt the guy gets her done. Plus, he was trained by Makaze. FYI, we, Makaze, hope you get well very, very soon. That injury did not look good, sir. We hope you can get back to doing what you love doing the most. That's wrestling very, very soon. That's from your boys at the Wrestle Talk podcast. Joe, Luke, I think that was an absolutely fantastic first hour, but it is time for break. So let's take 2 minutes, hit the music, come back with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and get into the world's greatest fantasy wrestling group, the FWWC. How does that sound?
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Muted.
Hey, what's up, Facebook? I don't know what you guys are thinking, man. I think it's been a great first hour of the show. I want to thank you guys for being here. Coming in on second shift and having to do... Damn. Oh, okay, so you came in on second shift and the first shift people didn't prep anything for you. Well, that's a bunch of crap. Marjo, I'm sorry to hear that. Thank you for being here throughout the show, man. Stock, if you're still checking us out, man, I'll see you Saturday. A little bit earlier... Yeah, somebody asked about David Starr. Like I was saying, man, I saw David Starr at Glory Pro last month. Dude, the guy is insane, and I believe he's working at AEW and a couple other big promotions. So shout out. Hopefully we get an opportunity to get him on the show because the dude is legit, baby. Like for real, legit. Much respect to the Philly kid, David Starr.
Unmuted.
Hey, wrestling fans, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat talking at you, and you're listening to the Wrestle Talk podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. That means one thing and one thing only. It is time for the Fantasy Wrestling Worldwide Chapter segment. And my goodness, did we have quite an interesting weekend, wouldn't you say, Rene?
Dude, let me tell you something, man. This weekend was absolutely tremendous. Money in the Bank was not only a great pay-per-view on TV for the WWE, but, man, in the FWWC, the world's greatest fantasy wrestling group, things got serious real quick. We went through the whole card, match by match, including Monday night's matches. Just this Monday on the FWWC Tonight, hosted by the babyface you love to hate, AJ Atticus, the admin, the originator, creator, the head administrator, Dewan Mills, and of course, La Familia's very own, the gentleman, Richard Priest. Those guys absolutely did a great job of breaking down the action, man. But let me tell you, Joe, there was a lot of unsettled business after Money in the Bank. As you know, we were unable to decide an Intercontinental Champion on Money in the Bank. again on Monday, went to a double DQ. A double count out between the Heel Deal and Massacre. So that match has been moved to this upcoming Monday. We will decide our brand new FWWC Intercontinental Champion. And of course, this upcoming Monday, the Lethal Lottery continues, man. I know you saw that we had Team 1 versus Team 2, which was, Express Lane Through Time versus the Big Boss Men. And then we had, the Big Boss Men versus Express Lane Through Time, which included Dwan Mills, the CEO, and Big Papa Kurt as the Big Boss Men. And then we had Kronos the Titan of Time and Danny Lane as the Express Lane Through Time. And to many people's surprise, Express Lane Through Time took out the Big Boss Man. You're talking about a legend in Big Papa Kurt. You're talking about the CEO, also a legend, man, taken out by two guys that seem like somewhat of an odd pairing. I mean, you think about the fact that I don't think Kronos and Danny Lane had ever faced each other before. You think about the idea that Danny Lane just recently came up from UXT and Kronos was just recently the Warriors Heart champion. Somehow, man, they found a way to gel pretty quickly and they were able to defeat the Big Boss Man. Joe, I got to get your thoughts on that match because it was one of the better ones we had this past Monday night.
Oh, yeah, it was a great match. I was surprised myself that the Bossman did not go to the second round, but, it is what it is, it definitely happens. They underestimated them, and, well, they're out of the tournament. But I must say the biggest thing that happened this weekend was El Mata got his Warriors Heart championship back.
Well, you know what, and I don't want to spend too much... Oh, goodness, I love a well-placed drop. Yes, as you guys know from listening to the FWWC tonight, we do have a word of the day, and that word of the day last week was championship, and anytime somebody says it, you get some goofy drop like Joey Styles, oh my God, or what you just heard, the Mexican scream. Man, the FWWC tonight is an absolutely tremendous... Oh my God! And there it is. Oh man, that's so good. That's so good, man. Intern Timmy is on fire today. But anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on it. El Mata did what he had to do to humble Kronos. I think it had a lot more to do with putting Kronos in his place than it actually had to do with winning that championship. Though, based on the promo that he released just a couple of days ago, it sounds like he's very proud to be Warriors Heart champ. And I'm really curious myself as a member of the BOD as to exactly how we're going to map out this Warriors Heart Championship thing going into SummerSlam, which is at this point only about 7 weeks away. Dude, can you believe it? FWWC SummerSlam at Rockstar Burgers is going down in just a matter of weeks, dude. Not months, man. Weeks. The first event we had there, Universe Mania 3, hosted by the Wrestle Talk podcast, was absolutely insane. We packed that place. We went to capacity. And I have no doubt in my mind that the SummerSlam party is going to be just as hype, just as packed, and just as fun. But I'll tell you what, Nightmare, I actually have a little bit of...
Ladies and gentlemen,
there it is, breaking news.
We actually have the first interview that Kronos the Titan of Time did after he was beat by Mata.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I believe you may have played the wrong audio because Kronos seemed very humble and, well, okay, maybe the first one that he did, he was kind of crying, he threw the belt on the ground. So I don't know if you don't mind, can you play that back just one more time? Quotes from Kronos after his loss. Is that the Teen Pain crying baby? That's fantastic, dude. Oh my goodness, that's so good. Well, listen, why don't you go ahead and hit that breaking news drop for me just one more time, because legitimately, man, the BOD has some huge news about the Lethal Lottery Tag Team Tournament. Hit that for me just one time, intern Timmy. Ladies and gentlemen of the FWWC, tuning in here on the Wrestle Talk podcast tonight, we have some breaking news concerning the upcoming matches. The upcoming matches for the Lethal Lottery Tournament this upcoming Monday. As you guys may have heard, it was announced that we're going to have Team 5 facing Team 6 and Team 9 versus Team 10. For those of you guys who have not been keeping up, let me go ahead and tell you who's going to be facing who. Team 5 is a team that recently came together because of the Lethal Lottery. And that team is composed of two very different members of the FWWC. One being the living legend Michael Reese, and the always entertaining Professor Colin Crapel will be teaming up to face a man who seems to have quite a bit of issues with the living legend. One, Julius Cairo, teams up with our former UXT champion, Massacre, who is going to be also in action against the Heel Deal for the Intercontinental Championship on Monday. So he's pulling double duty, and both matches are of huge significance. If him and Julius Cairo are able to defeat the living legend and Professor Crapel, they move on to round 2. If he's not, they obviously are bounced out of the tournament, and he has an opportunity to win the Intercontinental Championship. So that is an absolute huge deal. That's just one of the matches. And as I also said, we have Team 9, which is the Battle Tanks, Tank, and your brand new FWWC Heavyweight Champion, Battle Cat, facing off against the former UXT Tag Champion, or I should say one half of the former UST Tag Championship champions. Deadric Rain is teaming up with La Familia's very own Big Beard Kenny. These teams don't make any sense at all on paper, but as we saw with the Express Lane through time, it doesn't really matter if they make sense, because when these teams come together, they have an opportunity to do something huge. And let me tell you something, anything can happen in this tournament. And it looks like the phone lines are starting to light up here. So, intern Timmy, why don't you tell us who just popped on hold there and see if we can get somebody on. But I am really eager to see how exactly this is going to play out, because some of these teams, man, are just straight up crazy. I mean, you know, when you think about when you think about Deadric Rain, he seems to really have an issue with almost everybody, La Familia in particular, okay? Now he's being forced to team up with Big Beard Kenny, and all of a sudden, they almost kind of started to sound like they were getting along, at least initially. I would love to be a fly on the wall in the locker room as these two guys game plan for what they're going to be doing, because they're both obviously very talented, both obviously former champions. And the truth is, anybody can come out on top. You know, I mean, it's really anyone's game at this point, and whoever is able to manage to make their way through the whole tournament will inevitably end up facing Rishad Priest and El Mataratas, money, power, and respect at SummerSlam for the FWWC Tag Team Championships. Now, Nightmare Jones, I have it on fairly good authority that we have one of the gentlemen that I just brought up on hold right now. So why don't you let intern Timmy know we are ready for our first guest on the FWWC segment tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the man who is the last descendant of a Egyptian somebody, Julius Cairo.
Hello, gentlemen.
Mr. Cairo.
Hello.
Good evening, sir.
Very
How
beautiful
are you all
singing
doing
voice,
tonight?
let's say.
Oh, why, thank you. It is amazing how some thought it would embarrass me and yet made me more relevant in the FWWC.
Well, you know what,
I'm a man of many talents.
Well, you know what, Mr. Cairo? I will say, and we'll take a little bit of credit and blame at the same time, it was indeed the BOD who put you in a position to fight this fight under said stipulations, and you, sir, definitely took full advantage of the circumstances. Now, I will clarify this. There was no intention to embarrass anybody, but since you decided to start nicknaming some of your opponents, in this case, you started calling him Sunshine. So we said, hey, it's been a while since we've had a gimmick match. These guys have been at it for a while, okay? So why don't we do something different and something special? And there's no doubt in my mind that it was a good decision because it worked out wonderfully. And we have to give you credit, sir. You have a phenomenal singing voice among your many other talents.
Why, thank you, sir.
Now,
so I do want to talk about.
Carry on.
I do want to talk about this little issue with James Buttress. I refuse to call him Brick or Brick Wall or whatever he goes by now. Quite frankly, I think he is suffering from amnesia from the steel pipe shots to the head, so to speak. Since he called me a butler, I felt it necessary to serve him a beating.
Well, and you did just that. I guess my follow-up question is, you have a significant match around the corner. I just announced it a few minutes ago. You'll be teaming up with Massacre to take on, I believe, Battle Tanks. So how are you looking to team with Massacre when just recently you made a bit of a fuss about factions being silly, people standing on their own 2 feet, but now you're going to be forced to have to work with someone? Do you think you could put those sentiments to the side for just a little while as this tournament progresses and be successful with our former UXT champion, Massacre?
I have met with Massacre, and me and Massacre have no issues whatsoever. I mean, the reality of the situation is we both have the same goal in mind, to win this tournament. And I am willing to sacrifice my own personal achievements and things I want to achieve to team up with someone. It is very rare that I have the need to do so, but in order to be a tag team, I need a partner. And I cannot think of anyone better than the man himself, Massacre.
Well, you know what? It's surprising that you guys have such mutual respect considering your personalities, but hey, I, for one, I'm excited to see it because, as I said just before you came on, anybody and everybody has an opportunity to be successful during the tag tournament. And there's no doubt in my mind, if you make it to the final, that would certainly make for an interesting championship match at SummerSlam. It could be, quite possibly, one of the biggest tag team matches that we've ever seen. Are you prepared to handle that kind of pressure?
Pressure does not bother me. I handle pressure quite well. As for my partner, I believe that he can handle the pressure. Maybe not as well as I can, but I believe he can handle the pressure. And I will admit this, there are some things he has been sharing with me that have been quite hard to swallow. However, we have a few surprises for whoever we come against in the tournament from this point forward.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Julius Cairo of the FWWC coming in, making a statement, and letting it be known that though him and Massacre maybe wouldn't necessarily go out and have a beer together, but they are going to be a well-oiled machine come this Monday as they face off against the Battle Tanks this upcoming Monday. And when you talk about the Battle Tanks, you've got two guys. One recently became FWWC Heavyweight Champion, and another who has an opportunity to knock off Corbin Slater for the United States Championship at Great Balls of Fire. Nightmare Jones, I got to get your thoughts. Recently, unfortunately, lost the Heavyweight Championship to Battle Cat. This is your opportunity to kind of tell people how you're feeling about it. The floor is yours.
happy. I mean, I lost to the Battle Cat, but I must say that the Battle Cat did defeat me. He was able to beat me. I mean, at the pay-per-view, he picked a almost perfect card, and then the very next night, he picked a perfect card on Monday Night Raw, and you and I both know that is not an easy task to do. So
No, it's not.
Kudos to the Battle Cat.
No doubt. You got to have some respect for the guy. I mean, he's a former two-time Intercontinental Champion, a former United States Champion, and I believe at one point even a UXT Champion. So the Battle Cat is not to be taken lightly, though the way that he presents himself may not necessarily be the most polished way that people present themselves in the chapter. It's effective. He gets it done, and let you tell it, man. I mean, the guy, he earned it. He won it. And there's no doubt in my mind that whoever decides to challenge him for that championship at SummerSlam, or what's the pay-per-view before SummerSlam? Is that Battleground? Quite possibly could be. Is going to have their work cut out for them, man. It's going to be a huge deal to try to take it away from him. And a lot of people called him dumb. A lot of people said he was stupid for cashing in his Intercontinental Championship before he even got it in his hand. And it paid off, Nightmare Jones. And again, you know, valiant effort by you, but at least during this series of matches, the Battle Cat and Joker's Wild came out on top. I cannot believe I'm saying that. But listen, they did, they earned it, and it's going to be hell to try to take it away from them. Do you agree with that?
I do. I mean, there is only one thing that I can think of to think about what I think of when I think of Joker's Ride holding 3 titles.
I think it's shit.
Oh, mama time. Oh, my goodness, how I love her so much. Well, Nightmare Jones, you know, as much as I love talking about the FWWC, we're just moments away from another one of our featured guests for the evening. Tom Simon is going to join us for the very second time ever. I'm telling you, man, it is going to be insane. It's been so fun. Well, actually, it was really fun when we talked to him last time. I mean, I think we asked him 1 or 2 questions, and he just went, man, because he's got so many wonderful stories, so many great experiences, and he's not done yet, man. He's down at USA putting in huge work. I know that right now he's kind of the guy down there. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he's working as the promoter. And, you know, there's no doubt in my mind that when Tom Simon is involved, whether it's here on the Wrestle Talk podcast as a guest, whether he's working in the Illinois/St. Louis area, or whether he's down there at USA, he's going to do big things. He knows a lot of guys. He's been around the business for around 30 years or so. So the connections are there, man. I only wish that I lived a little bit closer and had the ability to make my way down there. Because the guy is absolutely phenomenal as a guest and, again, as a promoter. And being able to have him on and get the kind of insight that he offers, man, is really, really a treat. But before we do, let me thank, again, the members of the Fantasy Wrestling Worldwide chapter. They are available to you at any time by visiting WrestleTalkPodcast.com. All you really need to do is make your way over to the website, slide over to the far right. There's a Fantasy Wrestling WW chapter there. Click that thing, man. There's a full description. You can definitely join in on the fun. We are based in Facebook at the moment. We cut promos. We fight for championships. And we have a lot of people who are not physically or financially able to be professional wrestlers, whether they're in a wheelchair, their finances don't allow it, or they have some sort of mental disability. The FWWC, the Fantasy Wrestling Worldwide chapter, gives those people the ability to live out their dreams through what we call the chapter and climb up the power rankings, win championships. We mail them all around the world. We currently have 318 members, 50 active competitors in the chapter. I would dare to say that we have more wrestlers in our promotion than what you currently are seeing on Monday Night Raw. So it's kind of cool, man. The FWWC, you can find us on the WrestleTalkPodcast.com. Great group of guys, super hardworking. The promos are absolutely incredible. And really, overall, Joe, I know you'll agree with me on this, man. It is a lot of fun to get out of our comfort zone and become characters, become these personas, have rivalries with each other, be mean to each other. Some of the promos that have been cut have actually involved people getting together and filming promos. At one point, as a character, my character, El Mataratas, I speared a guy into a kiddie pool. At one point, I had dust, was it glitter blown into my eyes for a promo. Just great stuff. We've got ladies involved now. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal, and we're getting ready to reintroduce the Hardcore Championship into the chapter as well. So again, make your way over to WrestleTalkPodcast.com, guys. Slide on over to FWWC and check out what those guys are all about. But without further ado, it is 8:25 Central Time, 9:25 Eastern, and it is time for Snippets of Truth with Big Daddy P. Intern Timmy, hit the music, baby. You were doing so good today, Intern Timmy. Can we get the music for Big Daddy P, please? Woo!
Big Daddy P.
Intern Timmy's going to get put in a headlock real soon if you don't get my music right.
He was on fire today. Intern Timmy's been on fire today. I don't know what's going on.
Man, how y'all doing?
Doing great, Big Daddy. How you doing?
Doing good.
I see we got some prayer requests tonight.
Yes, sir, indeed.
Well, good. Let me go ahead and because it's funny, every single time that you send these now, if I don't have my glasses on, I get in trouble. So let me go ahead and pull these up. It looks like our first request is from Monty Price, and he needs prayer because he's got an addiction issue, and he's decided to remove himself from programming. And it looks here he's definitely going to need. Man, addiction is brutal, dude, but it is something that a lot of us experience in one way, shape, or form. So.
Hey, I'll tell you what, Big Daddy.
Add him to the prayer for that.
Addiction has hit very close to home in the Martinez family as well. So, Monty, we applaud you for being brave and sending us that prayer request. Is very, very brave of you, sir, and we thank you for that.
First, anybody who wants help, if they're willing to ask for it, they'll get it. And so it isn't anything to be ashamed of. It's a matter of fact, anybody that's listening now, at least they know what to pray for. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And our second one is from John Lickey. And he went to the hospital yesterday and was worried that he had a stroke. Let's see. Oh, boy. He's looking for some wisdom. That's definitely a tough one.
Indeed.
And the third one is Caleb. And he's got two friends who need their hearts opened up. Well, you know, the power of prayer, God can do anything. So let's petition heaven on their behalf.
Let's.
Father God, we know that you are the God of this universe. We know that you know everything about these three prayer requests and their needs. Father, we continue to lift them up in prayer for you, that you would answer them, that you would help them, especially Monty with the addiction issue. Father, we also ask that you would continue to strengthen his mind during this time, that you would remove all withdrawals from him, and that he would remain obedient to your plan that you have for his life. Father, for John's health, you know his situation, you know his doctors. I just pray, Father, that you would give them the wisdom to diagnose his situation so that he can recover quickly. And Father, for Caleb, you know his needs. You know everything about every one of these three situations. Father, we thank you in advance that you will not only perform miracles in their lives, not only by keeping them alive, but answering their prayers today. Father, I also want to send prayers out to Kevin Owens, Father, who is injured, who provides for his family through his wrestling, and for all those out there that are wrestling who make a living off of it, that if they are injured, Father, that you would continue to heal them, that you would continue to make financial provision for their lives. We know that you are faithful even though we are faithless. I thank you, Father, for those that are listening right now who have been thinking about something that's on their mind and they haven't asked you, but now they stand before you, Father, asking in mental thought alone, which is good enough. I pray that you would be with them. For those that are listening that don't know you, that they would recognize not only that you care and not only that you want to hear their prayers, but you want to help them because you love them and you died for them. So we thank you so much for all that you do, and we love you. And Father, I just want to thank you for Rene and Joe and ask that you continue to bless this wonderful podcast, this thing that they are so passionate about. And thank you for the friendship that is almost 3 years and going strong now. We just love you so much, and we ask these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen and
Absolutely.
amen.
Absolutely. And I tell you what, Big Daddy B, this past week, God definitely showed upon the Wrestle Talk podcast. In one day, we went from like, what, 600 followers on Twitter to over 6,000 followers on Twitter in one day.
Imagine that.
Incredible.
He knows what he's doing. Listen, there are a lot of people. I was teaching tonight at Planet Nutrition, and we had about four people who arrived, and two more walked in, then two more walked in, and two of them that walk in used to attend my Bible studies over at my house that I had, and she, I guess, went to jail and just got out, and I wasn't there anymore at the house. She went to look for me. I moved to Smithville, as you know, and I wasn't there, and she shows up at Planet Nutrition tonight and was so excited because she now was able to catch up with me. And, you know, God knows where we are. He knows where to petition us and where to put us so that we can are ready to hear from him at any time. So there's no doubt that y'all have been faithful. Y'all continue to open up this prayer segment for those that you care about and those that you don't know. And I assure you that by your willingness to open up this time for him, that he will definitely, I mean, he has every reason to spread this show now, especially even if it's those just are bored and have nothing to do and they love wrestling and they want to be a part of something. You know what I mean? I mean, you guys have been going how long now? How long has the podcast been alive?
I'll let Joe answer that question.
With me and Rene, it's been about 2 years, but all in all, the podcast has been going on about 5 years now.
Okay, so you're almost to the point now to where it's just a household name. It's just what you do. So keep being faithful in it and keep doing it. And I just love you guys. And I do want to say I loved the match with Roman and Joe.
Yeah.
Notice I didn't call him Samoa.
Yeah, buddy.
I'm on the Joe bandwagon.
He's fantastic. And we know you also love James Ellsworth winning the Money in the Bank. I know you're a big fan, so.
Absolutely, man. Listen, I called a long time ago. I knew Corbin was going to be something. Even though he didn't come from wrestling, he's too big, too strong, too agile. But, you know, again, they're just starting to use him in a bigger capacity.
Right, and remember this, Perry.
I love the...
And remember this, he's from Kansas City.
Yep.
He's from Kansas City, so it's a given.
Is he?
Yeah. He grew up in Blue Springs.
I didn't know.
Yeah, he grew up in Blue Springs, and whenever he's introduced, it says from Kansas City, Corbin. Okay, or whatever. You guys know what the introduction sounds like, but yeah. So hey, listen, Perry, we are moving on to Tom Simon, but again, as always, we thank you, sir. It was a pleasure to talk with you. throughout the week as we work together to try to get some business done. And as always, for coming on and doing Snippets of Truth, man. We are looking forward to doing it again with you next week.
And just remember, there is no sin that you can commit that can cancel out the work that Christ did on the cross.
Amen, brother. Thank
Absolutely.
you. That's true Snippets of Truth right
eternal
there.
life's eternal.
Have a good one, Perry.
We'll see you guys. Much love.
All right.
Yeah.
See ya. All right. Well, Big Daddy P, man, always putting in work. We always are grateful to have him, and we want to make sure you guys go over to paintersdream.com for any website needs that you might have. Perry Hartman helps us with the WrestleTalkPodcast.com. We're very grateful to him for that. We also want to thank the people that are watching on Facebook, Periscope, and also all the people that are on hold listening, and as well as all the people that will listen to us on replay through the WrestleTalkPodcast.com. We're very, very grateful to all of you. But without further ado, let's bring back our boy Luke Roberts and have an awesome introduction for the man himself, Tom Simon. Luke Roberts, are you back with us?
I'm back. I got to find out what's up with intern Timmy, man. That's how I say. I've been all around the world, but I'm back now, and I feel very fortunate and very honored to have introduce our next guest. A lot of people that know professional wrestling throughout this country are going to be very familiar with our next guest. This is one of those gentlemen who's been all around the country. He's announced for such important events as the Cauliflower Alley Club. You can find him most recently as the promoter of USA Championship Wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Wrestle Talk Podcast. Mr. Tom Simon and intern Timmy, you got that music ready?
Let's cross our fingers, guys.
Mr. Tom Simon, welcome back.
Thank you very much, Luke. It's so good to be back. NWA Junior Heavyweight Champion. He had heart surgery yesterday. They thought they were going to have to crack his chest open and do all kinds of things with the Widowmaker. As it turned out, when they went in, they were able to fix what needed to be fixed with 2 stents. Golden Boy is on his feet. He walked 2 miles between last night and today. He's posted a couple times on Facebook Live. And Golden Boy, my prayers, along with everybody else's prayers out there, we're with you, are with you. I hope you get better. I want to see you wrestle again, brother. So that's all I'm going to say to start off with. We could talk about USA Championship Wrestling or anything you want to do.
Well, absolutely, Tom. And again, we're always grateful to have you on. And I know you're very, very busy. I know you're recently retired from your let's just say shoot job, and now you're working as a promoter down for USA. But before we go any further, let me get your thoughts, because I rarely get the opportunity to ask this question. I believe last time you were on, you were our featured guest for the first hour, not the second hour. And I don't know if you had a chance to hear the prayer segment that we do. I'm curious. I don't think there's any other podcast out there that does what we do. There's a lot of people that like to send those positive vibes, whatever the heck that means. But we do a prayer segment because we believe that is the best way to spread the gospel. So I'm curious, from a believer's perspective, what do you think about that? Do you think it's something that we should continue doing, or do you think maybe we're going to alienate some people?
Absolutely should continue. I think most wrestling fans have a belief of some kind. The segment in itself, 5 to 7 minutes long, it's a 2-hour podcast. If those who don't believe can tolerate for 8 minutes or so, they can tolerate through that, because you're doing good work when you do something like that. I did not hear the segment the first time I was on, but I was absolutely tickled to death to hear these things. Prayer works in all manners. Like I just said with the Golden Boy, Greg Anthony, he had hundreds of thousands of people praying for him because he is well known all over the United States. He's appeared all over the United States. not only with our time together at TCW, but also various NWA promotions. I saw him, about a month and a half ago in Maumelle, Arkansas, and it was just great to see him. My biggest question was, what were they going to do with his beard during the surgery? Luckily, they were able to stuff it underneath a huge hairnet, and he still has the huge beard. If you look him up on Facebook, Greg Anthony, and you'll know what I mean. But absolutely, keep it.
All right, excellent. And then also, I wanted to have you comment, and of course, I'm being joined by my co-host, Nightmare Jones, Joe Lance, and of course, an old friend of yours, Luke Roberts. So I'll throw them here shortly. But I wanted to get your thoughts, Tom, on a conversation that we were having a little bit earlier to kick off the show during our High Spots segment. Jake the Snake Roberts, a name that everybody knows, that's a fan of professional wrestling, almost no matter what age or when you were born, recently had a Facebook broadcast, a Facebook Live. It actually happened yesterday afternoon. And what he wanted to kind of put out there is that he felt like he had figured out what was quote-unquote wrong with the WWE. Now, I happen to be somebody that doesn't necessarily think that there's anything wrong with the WWE. I think the WWE has always been what it is. And that's okay. You know, that's the type of wrestling a lot of people enjoy, and that's why they've been greatly successful. But from his perspective, his issue was with the in-ring work and how fast these guys move. And he flat out said that he felt like the reason that the in-ring work isn't nearly as good as it was, say, 20 years ago is because the guys are so in shape that they do not have the ability to slow down and actually sell. My question is there any merit to what Jake the Snake Roberts said?
Well, one of the things that I absolutely listened to the first half of the show too. I'm not those guys that just comes on and starts listening 5 minutes before he's supposed to be on. I listened.
We thank you for that.
Show. Jake certainly has some valid points. One of the things that has irritated me is, no matter where you go, wrestlers have a tendency to rush through their matches. Sometimes it's to get their stuff in. Sometimes it is just because they only have 8 minutes. The agent says you have 8 minutes, and in WWE you hit that 8 minutes or you don't go back out there. So as a result, you've got 8 minutes to tell your story. Some of them rush through so much that sometimes it is substance, it's quantity over quality. Because one of the guys that I have admired for a long time, and this may surprise you, I have admired Dolph Ziggler because he has the ability to sell. He has the ability to tell that story. He is the face in peril, or the heel in peril. He is always reactive to everything that his partner in the ring is trying to do. And at times when he's selling, he's in essence slowing the tempo down and taking the time for everybody to absorb it. I love a good, solid, well-paced match. In fact, on USA Championship Wrestling, we have 10 to 12-minute matches, and they tell stories. The reason we do that is because we want to present television, episodic television, the way it used to be. We come in to your living rooms, we come in and tell a story. Sometimes it takes a little longer to tell that story. We taped 3 shows last Thursday night in Jackson, Tennessee. We do tape at Studio A at the Oman Arena in Jackson, Tennessee. The Oman Arena is the house that Jackie Fargo built. It is unbelievable. It is an arena of about 5,000-6,000 seats. When we do our live shows there, we will seal off the upper bowl on one side just to make sure that the people are close together and we have a great crowd. Oman Arena is a one place taken over an area of the build ourselves a little TV studio, and it is going to be just like what you've seen in the past. I've been watching old wrestling at the Chase, and the studio that they used to work in at KPLR in St. Louis was marvelous. It wasn't very big, but it was marvelous because they had 5 rows of bleachers straight across from the hard camera. They had 3 rows on each side. They had no seats underneath the cameras, but they had what was a great crowd because it was very small. We have a small studio. We're trying to make the best out of it. We think we have the beginning of a great television show. And we've been approached by 2 different networks in the past week since we have been on the air 6 weeks now. We've been approached by 2 different networks about televising our show. We are going to be sending shows off to those networks. They heard about us at our last Oman Arena show, June the 3rd, where we had Jerry the King Lawler, Jimmy Hart, Coco Beware, Dangerous Doug Gilbert, some of the old guys. And people say, oh, you just count on the old guys. You bring in these old guys. You never pay attention to the new guys. Watch our TV show. We have a tag team called the Star Twins. They are our tag team champions. They have been on a run with another tag team called the Misfits, Tyler Jordan and Del Tucker, and it has been a war, a literal war. In fact, the show that's coming up on Saturday, we show our show, by the way, on Saturday morning. It is on the website, USAChampionshipWrestling.tv. It is on the air in Jackson, Tennessee right now, and we are looking to expand like nobody's business. The Star Twins are one of our shining stars. They are our tag team champions, but they had what people would call the blow-off match in Oman Arena Saturday night, June the 3rd, against the Misfits. In fact, we're going to have some highlights from that on our show this week. Unfortunately, the Misfits and the Star Twins don't believe that they're quite done with their business. And I had to get involved during that time, and, you're just going to have to watch on Saturday to figure out what happened. It's madness. It tells a great story, though, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. In fact, I'm going to see the edited version of the TV show right after I get off the air tonight. My TV editors in Jackson, Tennessee are working hard to get footage to me. We have, the Star Twins I mentioned, they are going to be appearing in the St. Louis area for Herb Simmons on SICW.
Nice.
On August 19th. A little talent exchange there. We have had Chris Hargis on our TV, and I know Luke is familiar with Chris. I know all the St. Louis area fans are familiar with Chris Hargis. Another name you might be familiar with is a guy named Steve Murphy. You've heard that name, haven't you, Luke?
Oh, most definitely. Steve Murphy. For those that don't know about Steve Murphy, I mean, here's a man who many years ago, too many more than I want to admit, but gave me an opportunity back when I was more of an in-ring competitor to be in ring. The man is a big, virtual wealth of information when it comes to professional wrestling. And I believe not only do you have Steve Murphy as a part of the broadcast team, but the other half of that team isn't too shabby either, though.
No, not at all. Actually, due to a scheduling conflict, the other half of his team, for the first 6 shows was Brian Thompson, and everybody knows Brian from RCW. Everybody knows Brian in Missouri. He started out with MRW, and just unbelievable. Been in the wrestling business forever, just like you and me, Luke. But Steve Murphy is our play-by-play guy. This week we are joined by the one and only Bert Prentice.
Wow.
Bert has been a name in the business for a long time, but I truly enjoyed promoting those shows. I'm the matchmaker. I put the matches together, but listening to Steve and Bert spin the tales that they spin was just unbelievable. Bert will be there for the next 3 shows. We did it like Wrestling at the Chase. We taped 3 shows in advance of our house show coming up on Saturday night, July the 8th. It is our celebration of the Rock and Roll Express being elected to the WWE Hall of Fame. The Rock and Roll Express will be facing the Outlaws, Christian James and Eric Andrews. Eric Andrews is an independent wrestler and he's been everywhere, trust me. Eric Andrews, a great hand. Just announced today, the Outlaws will have Lucky P. Larson Esquire in their corner. Lucky is our resident pain in the ass. I can say that on the podcast.
You can say it, Tom.
Yeah, he is a pain in the ass. But because of the fact that Lucky interjected himself in the team of the Outlaws, we came back and Rock and Roll said, well, we'd like to get a manager, but I don't know if he's available. They made a couple of phone calls, and sure enough, with the Rock and Roll Express on Saturday night, July the 8th at Oman Arena, will be none other than Jim Cornette.
Wow. That would be interesting for sure.
So it's going to be good because Jim's been a little, not much, but a little bit, and he tolerates the Rock and Roll Express now. He is certainly a friend of the promotion, the USA Championship Wrestling. That show on the 8th is just going to be huge. Ringside's already sold out. We're into the 3rd row of the floor seats now. Tickets are available at www.omanwrestling.com, O-M-A-N wrestling.com. Bell time 7:30. It's just going to be great. I am driving across the country and will be spending that weekend in Jackson, Tennessee, because I'm the promoter. We got some great wrestlers on the show: Danny Dollar, Sean Hurley, the Star Twins, like I said. Matt Boyce, great guy from Little Rock, Arkansas, is going to be there. We have the Joker, who has been appearing in USA Championship Wrestling. He's currently our heavyweight champion. Unfortunately, with Lucky P. Larson Esquire in his corner. Lucky's, I call him an ambulance chaser. Well, I call him worse. I seriously, after following the Bible segment, I just, I can't get too crass about it. But all of the matches are going to have been developed and are being developed throughout the next 3 weeks of TV. And it all starts this Saturday. The show is available on USAChampionshipWrestling.tv at 11 o'clock on Saturday morning. So it's just like it used to be in Memphis, 11 o'clock on Saturday morning. And the great thing about it is USA Championship Wrestling is everywhere. They were in Metropolis, Illinois for the Superman Festival 2 weekends ago. They're doing a benefit show this Saturday in Gladeville, Tennessee, for Kay Stokes. Kay, a great friend of the promotion. The 6-man tag team match on Friday night. Chase Stevens, everybody's heard about Chase, will be with the Star Twins against the Young Lions and Tyler Jordan for the Misfits. Saturday night, July the 1st, Parsons, Tennessee, the Red, White, and Bruise Tour. It is just one of those that you're not going to believe. L.T. Falk, the son of Tough Tony Falk, a name from Memphis Wrestling, is there. And he's going to be facing Parsons, Tennessee's own Jacob Mills. The Star Twins are going to face Joseph Bourne and Bam Bam Bundy. Todd Curry against John Irons. Sean Hurley against Christian James. The Red, White, and Bruise Tour makes its way to Parsons, Tennessee at the Decatur County Civic Center Saturday night, July the 1st. USA Championship Wrestling is everywhere. And so is Steve Murphy. Murphy's going to be down there on the 8th in Oman Arena. And I'm just excited about the the whole show.
Well, we can definitely hear it in your voice. And before I throw to Joe here, we do have a caller that's been waiting to get on with you pretty much throughout the length of the show. So, intern Timmy, why don't you do us a favor and bring on one of our favorites? I believe she called in last time you were on, Tom. And if I'm mistaken, I apologize. Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. I believe for the second time ever, none other than our friend Granny.
Hello. Hello, Tom Simon.
You're live, Granny. What's up?
Granny Hulkster.
Yes.
Oh, I love you, girl.
Well, I
How
love
are
you
you,
too.
Mama?
We're fine. Just been really busy, but we were so excited to see you at the show at Maumelle back in April. That was just, I tell you, that was just like getting the old TCW family back together again. I tell you, it was just awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And there may be some things happening. I don't know, possibly coming up. It will probably be with USA Championship Wrestling, but you may see more of the guys working for USA before it's all over with.
Well, that would be
after all,
awesome.
After all, if I can get Brian Thompson to work for me, anything's possible.
Oh, yes, that's true. Matter of fact, we got to see Brian Thompson at Lebanon, Missouri when he did that I-44 Speedway Slam thing with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Trevor Murdoch was there. David and I went up there and got to see them, and that was pretty awesome. So, but I tell you, you're talking about Greg Anthony, and I mean, as a wrestling fan, I have given Greg Anthony lots and lots of grief over the years, and you know that, Tom. But I tell you, Granny Hulkster has the Golden Girl.
You called him the Golden Girl on many occasions.
Yes, and we do. Yeah. But you know what? But Granny has such a big heart, and I love my wrestling family. I, along with many, many others, changed my profile picture to that golden heart and #Team Golden Boy. And I tell you, I've been praying for Greg and his family, and I'm only wishing the best for him, that he, makes a full recovery and that he's going to get back in that ring again so we can watch him wrestle again.
He ended up getting exactly the same surgery that I got 3 years ago. And I turned out pretty good. So I think I'm absolutely positive that he's going to be back in the ring before long. It'll be probably about 3 months or so before he can totally function and get his cardio back. But I absolutely want to be there to see it too. They're going to have to get a bigger hall.
And for those of you guys that do not know Granny Hulkster, I mean, Tom Simon and I, we go back a long way, back in the days when TCW was running in the Fort Smith area, back down in Arkansas and Clarksville, and, I tell you, Granny was a huge fan. Matter of fact, I have a shirt that my friend made for me. It says, Granny Hulkster, Queen of TCW. So,
and you have a number of autographs on there that are pretty rare to get all those autographs together.
Yes, and I have a number of autographs on my original one.
Yep. We definitely had some fun there. In fact,
we did.
That TV show is still on in Little Rock, Arkansas. Believe it or not. Saturday nights at 10 o'clock, I can watch myself on TV.
Well, you know what was so funny about the two shows that we've been to that they've done for CWA down there in Maumelle. I tell you, we were there in January and we were there in April, and both shows I've had actually people come up and message me on Facebook saying, "Hey, aren't you the lady in the yellow T-shirt on the old TCW reruns?" And I mean, TCW quit running in 2013, and I still to this day, I've seen people at both of those shows, and they were messaging me on Facebook, "Hey, aren't you the lady on TCW in the yellow T-shirt?" I mean, I never thought that this little nickname that I inherited would have gone so far, but it's still going strong today at other independent wrestling shows that I go to.
It was a great time, no doubt about it, and I don't know that it'll be duplicated again, but at least we do have those memories.
We do.
I know we're running out of time.
Yes, we are, and thank you. And honestly, we all kind of lost track of the time just listening to you two banter back and forth. And I do want to express, Granny, thank you for calling in today. I know that you waited on hold for over an hour and a half to have an opportunity to talk to Tom, and we're just like you. I mean, we created this show because we love wrestling. We love the people that are involved in wrestling, and it's easy to fall in love with the people that make it happen, with guys like Tom Simon, because they genuinely have the same passion that we do for professional wrestling. So we hope that you won't be a stranger, that you'll continue to tune in. This is the second time we've had Tom on, and if I have anything to do with it, it won't be the last. I'll tell you that much.
Well, you're very welcome. I'm glad I was able to call in and listen to Tom. It's always a pleasure talking to you, my friend.
I love you, Granny. Take care of yourself, and tell David and your son I send my love.
I will, sure will.
All right.
And
gotta love
Rene and
the
Joe,
passion.
I absolutely will come back anytime you guys want me. Wednesday nights are generally pretty good because the one job is done. The second job that I still have, at least until September, I have Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday off, so I can prepare for TV tapings and do TV tapings. So it's nice to have some time off that's consistent. I look forward to coming back anytime you guys need me. I'm certainly looking forward to seeing all the wrestling fans, either in Jackson, Tennessee, or wherever it may be, USA Championship Wrestling. Be sure to watch this Saturday morning, because it's going to be a special show with Steve Murphy and Bert Prentice, and yours truly will be on there. May not be exactly what you were looking for, but it is absolutely fun TV to watch.
Well, no doubt about it. And for those who are not in the local viewing area, please be sure to visit USAChampionshipWrestling.tv. And you can get your tickets at omenwrestling.com for that event with Jim Cornette. Tom, it always seems like we're a little short on time, and just out of respect to my co-host, Joe, why don't you go ahead and go first? Did you have any thoughts or a quick question for Tom, and then we'll go ahead and throw it to Luke as well?
Thank you once for coming on to our show. It's always a pleasure. You are welcome to come on anytime that you want to, and that's really about all I got. Luke Roberts.
Well, like I say, Tom, it's always a pleasure to have the time to talk to you. I've known Tom for years upon years, more years I think both of us would like to admit sometimes. But I got one quick question for you. Being the promoter of USA Championship Wrestling and having the opportunity to have been a part of USA Championship Wrestling on a couple of different occasions, my question to you is this. 2017, you've already had a lot of big names come through USA Championship Wrestling. Who would you say is one person I know that the Memphis and the Tennessee area is known for years and years and years with its professional wrestling heritage? As a wrestling fan and as a wrestling promoter, who is one person you would like to see, hopefully before 2017 is done, come into the ring there at USA Championship?
Well, the great thing is, with the resources that we have and the geography that we have, we get to bring in pretty much anybody from the Memphis area that we want. The future looks very bright for USA Championship Wrestling, because people are telling us, don't count so much on the old wrestlers. Bring in old wrestlers from time to time. You know, we're glad to see them, but develop those young wrestlers. And I think this time through, that's one of the things that I'm concentrating on, because we've got some great young wrestlers. There's one kid from Brownsville, Tennessee, Todd Curry. I think he's going to be the face of the company going forward. He's really a great young wrestler. The Star Twins, you're going to see them in the St. Louis area on August 19th at SICW. I'm sure that's going to be at the East Carondelet Center. I know that I'm going to be up in the St. Louis area the last week in July, and I'm going to try to catch as much independent wrestling up there as I can, because there's really great wrestling going on up there, whether it be MMWA, SICW, Dynamo Pro, and all the rest of the promotions that are running. I know Michael Elgin's running a new promotion over in Illinois. I look forward to seeing that. Even in my old hometown of Collinsville, Illinois, Ring of Honor gets through there at the Gateway Center about once or twice a year. And with my schedule loosening up, you never know when Tom Simon may show up at a show near you.
All right. Well, Tom, like I said, I got to say it's always an honor and a privilege to be able to talk with you, especially here tonight with the Wrestle Talk family here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. Rene, I know we've got a lot of things going on. I know we've had a lot of time to talk with Tom tonight, but I think we got a little more business to take care of before we call it a night. Am I right?
That's right. Absolutely correct. We're going to be joined by our host, Joe Lance, in what we like to call the Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge. Intern Timmy, hit the music.
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge. I am your host, Joe Land. Today we had Mr. Tom Simon and the Night Owl going head to head in what I like to call famous television champions in professional wrestling. I'm going to give you a clue as to who this person is. And all you have to do is just tell me who it is. The first person that gets the answer correct gets the point. We'll play to 3 points. Seems pretty simple, doesn't it, fellas?
Simple to me.
Sounds good to me.
All right. So whoever shouts it out first. So, all right. So here is the first question. Which member of the Four Horsemen and past guest on the Wrestle Talk podcast had the longest NWA WCW World Television Championship reign at 353 days?
Arn Anderson.
Tully Blanchard.
That's Rene is correct. It is Tully Blanchard.
Yes.
Rene gets 1 point.
All right.
All right. What former WCW competitor held the ECW World Television Championship for 700 days?
Raven?
He also did a comedy show in Kansas City.
Former ECW champion?
Competitor.
Okay, competitor.
Goes by the initials RVD.
Rob Van Dam.
Tom Simon got it first.
Oh, man, that was close. Okay, last one.
Okay. What Booker T... What current TNA competitor won the first ever ROH World Television Championship, defeating his tag team partner in finals?
Moose?
Part of the groups.
Moose?
No, not Moose. Tag team.
You said current TNA tag team?
They were a tag team, and then they started feuding. He was actually going to be in Dynamo Pro for NATSUCON, but he wasn't able to make it.
Delirious? No. I know who you're talking about. Mikey, geez Louise, Angelus Lane's husband. No, Angelus, I can't remember.
Davey Richards.
Davey Richards. Dang it.
Davey Richards.
Oh, man.
Who was Davey Richards' tag team partner?
Jeez Louise.
No, his name was Santa Louise.
This is Eddie.
Eddie Edwards.
Eddie Edwards.
Oh,
Correct.
man. All right. Oh, man. All right. That's fine. I lost. Where's the music?
All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never give it up. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up. And they say that, and they say that. Woo!
All right.
Man, that was fair. Hey, listen.
It was worth it.
No shame in losing to a legend.
That question I asked, the third question, that was actually the backup question because the question that I was going to ask, I actually gave the answer.
You gave the answer. Tom, Luke, Joe,
Well, that's
absolutely fantastic job tonight. Tom, any closing thoughts?
Rene, always a pleasure to talk with you guys. It's nice talking wrestling no matter where you are. And just support independent wrestling no matter where you are listening to this. There's always an independent wrestling show somewhere near you. Go find it. Support them. Keep them in business, please.
That's right.
It is what it is. It is your alternative to what's on TV.
That's right. And if you're in the Jackson, Tennessee area, guys, USA Championship Wrestling, and if you're not, USA Championship Wrestling.tv. Tom, thank you so very much for joining us again tonight. We hope to talk to you again soon.
Rene, the good thing about our TV tapings is that they are absolutely free. We will post on Facebook prior to the taping dates when they are, and they are absolutely free. Seating is limited, but we follow the tradition that Sam Muchnick and Larry Medisick started by giving away tickets to our TV tapings. You can see the guys for free there, but we want you to come out and support our live shows too.
Thank you, Alex. Appreciate it.
Have a great time.
Have a great night. We'll talk to you again, brother. All right.
Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks a lot. Gentlemen, any final thoughts?
Just thank everybody for all of their support for the Wrestle Talk podcast. You ain't seen nothing yet.
Indeed. Luke Roberts?
You know, every time I get ready to have this great statement, here comes Joe Lance and he hits it right on the head. Make it a point. Check out all the great sponsors of the Wrestle Talk podcast. Make it a point. WrestleTalkPodcast.com. Also want to thank everybody. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Periscope, you name it. Anybody that's had the opportunity to listen tonight and any night to the Wrestle Talk podcast with Joe and Rene. And I got to echo what Joe said earlier. If you think the first half of 2017 is rocked with the Wrestle Talk podcast, stay tuned because there's a lot more great things coming up as we go on in this great year of 2017 with the Wrestle Talk podcast.
That's right. It's going to be a hot summer right here on the Wrestle Talk podcast because we are in the air everywhere. And very much like Luke Roberts, we keep it sharp like a number 2 pencil on test day. Guys, the Night Owl, Nightmare Jones, Luke Roberts signing out. We will catch you guys next Wednesday. Please be sure to stay in tune with us through all of our social media. But most importantly, www.WrestleTalkPodcast.com. Grace and peace to everybody. We are out.